What's up, YouTube?
What's up, YouTube? What's up, YouTube?
What's up, YouTube? I'm Wrigley Juice Recipes. Welcome to another fun and fabulous episode of Tuesday Reviews Day, the show where I randomly review flavors that are in my flavor stash. How's everybody doing? Had a really nice long weekend. It was, mostly relaxing. Deb, Chud, Justin Crabtree says you go live at 2 a.m. Is that 2 a.m. your time? Is it 2 a.m. right now where you are? Because it's 9 p.m. where I am. And that's what time I scheduled my stream for. Don't mind my cats. They're just, playing in the background. Chasing Clouds and Flavor Reviews. What is up? Hope everybody had a good 4th of July. If you're here in the States, it was a good time. Got to see 2 different fireworks displays. Went to the pool. Of course, I got paid to sit at home for a day. That's always nice. So, I like to start this show out by backtracking a little bit, talking about what we did last week. Last week, Fate gave us Wonder Flavors Pistachio Cream, and I gotta say, I really, really, really like that flavor. My final thoughts on it are that it's a really good creamy pistachio. So if you are in the market for a creamy pistachio flavor, I think that might be something that's up your alley. The pistachio note it's a little bit light, but it is definitely there and definitely pistachio. We made a pistachio cheesecake, and I killed the 10 milliliter bottle that we made during the live mix, and then I also made another 60 milliliter, and that is gone as well. It was a really, 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 really good, nutty cheesecake. Added a little bit of TFA graham cracker clear. Didn't want to overpower it with graham cracker crust, but the graham cracker and the pistachio really do something quite nice together. Arkansas. I've never been to Arkansas before. I've seen all kinds of pictures of it. It looks absolutely beautiful. I would love to make it to Arkansas sometime. Maybe we can hang out, Justin Crabtree. I think I've been to everywhere in the South except for Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma, and then I've been to Georgia, Florida. Don't think I've ever been to Arkansas. That's unfortunate. I haven't gotten too far south in Missouri, so I'm still pretty far away from Arkansas. That's the same time zone, though, right? Central time, I believe. Sorry, I have a hair in my mouth. That's really bothering me. I'm just going to take care of that real quick. Oh yeah, so Soho, it tastes like it's, I just call it sparkly. It has this sparkly sweetness to it that I really, really like. It's like baker's sugar. And that flavor is, I'd never heard of it before. And my friend Mikey pointed it out to me, told me to pick it up. And that flavor has just kind of blown me away. Tobacco, was it Flavorah? It's not really known for their tobaccos. They do have quite a few, but they're not really known for their tobaccos. But that flavor is amazing. Anyway, should we get down to it? Should we head on over to random.org? So what I do here is I have all of the flavors that I own, and they are in this list right here. And I have plugged those into random.org. And what we're going to do now is we are going to hit this randomize button right here. We're going to hit it 3 times. And on the 3rd time, the very first result that we have at the top there, we are going to review and make a recipe with that flavor. Now, I will tell you that I have tried most of the flavors that I own, although I did just get in about 15 new flavors, and I've only tried one of them so far. So that would be fun if we got one of those. But I try to really look at this with a fresh set of eyes, like I have never tried this flavor before. So, if you're ready, can I get a countdown, please? Drum roll. Here is randomize 1 and 2. One more time. 3. The flavor today is... Oh, we can't do that. No. See, now, I said... Now, hold on. Just 1 second. Hear me out. I said that I removed all of the additives from the list, and apparently I missed one. And I actually made the joke last week about acetylpyrazine and that it would be fun to review, but okay, we're gonna hit the randomize button one more time, and I will make sure that when I go back, I remove acetylpyrazine. Sorry. Okay, one more time. Today we're gonna review Flavorah Root Beer. Oh, awesome! Yes, I love me some root beer. I've been in this weird funk, you know, the last couple of days. It's getting really hot outside, you know, it's like between 90 and 100 degrees here during the daytime. And I like to vape like RY4s, and I like cheesecakes a lot. I do bakeries a lot. Sometimes I do chocolates. I don't really mess too much with fruits, and those are the things that, you know, tend to be really, really good, you know, when it's hot outside, right? I can't stand cooling or WS23, Coolada. I can't do any of that stuff. I really just don't care for it. I swear, every time we get 5 minutes into the stream, you know what happens? Every single time, my internet crashes. I've got the fastest and most bandwidth available from my internet provider, and we get 5 minutes into the stream and it crashes. So, sorry, we're back, we're live. We are doing Flavorah Root Beer, and I love root beer. I think that will be really, really good this time of year. So I mean, when you do root beer, it seems kind of obvious, right? You do a root beer float. Anybody have any other suggestions? You know what we got to do before we make a recipe? We have to single flavor test Flavorah Root Beer. That's what we need to do. So first, what I like to do is I like to head over to ELR, and I like to look at the notes that all of the wonderful people on ELR have written about this flavor. So I'm going to do this, and we are going to look up Flavorah Root Beer. What do all of the lovely folks over at ELR have to say about Flavorah Root Beer? I should put Flavorah. Root Beer, Flavorah, 1,494 recipes. Let's see what people have to say about Flavorah Root Beer. Tastes like a standard root beer flavoring, which is root beer barrel candy. Not bad, but it's nothing special. Aww. 5% single flavor test. Max VG 18 station. This smells very faintly of root beer, although I'm not able to taste much when vaping. Really? I put this one through 2 different atomizers with similar results. Interesting. What else? What else? Tastes like a pretty standard root beer, like Dad's or Barks. Thick foamy head is very much present. Ooh, that's really good for a root beer. You want that thick foamy head. Let's see here. Average mix quantity 3.5 with a median of 4. Single flavor recommendation is 4%. Hang on just a second, sorry. Write a text message real quick. Okay, chat. What do you think about Flavorah Root Beer? What do we think about Flavorah Root Beer? Just a very nice creamy root beer, says Rick. Yeah, that's right, Justin Crabtree. Go on over there and hit that like button while you're in here. You know, that really helps me out. I appreciate that. Shout out to you, Justin Crabtree. You are the man. All right, let me find my root beer. There it is. Actually, it's a very full bottle. I think I might have one I've made quite a few root beer like this. Definitely got one that's open already. I believe that was my backup. And I'd hate to open a new bottle. Yeah, that one's got a big chunk taken out of it. Alright, Flavorah Root Beer. Let's see what it smells like. Smells like root beer. You got that sassafras, wintergreen. Oh yeah, so ELR said 4%. You're really hoping I'll do something besides a root beer float? What else are you gonna do with root beer other than make a root beer float? Justin, when you say that you're a cheesecake maker, do you mean that you make cheesecakes like real life cheesecakes, or you make cheesecake liquids? Because if you're a real life cheesecake maker, that's epic. Spice cookie. So Developed has a recipe called, what is it called? It's a butterscotch cookie, but it has Flavorah root beer in it just for that spice note. So what I'm saying is, been there, done that. I do have a few root beer float recipes. The very first season of DIY Easy had Flavorah root beer in the flavor stash. So root beer cheesecake with butterscotch drizzle. You guys, okay, you make liquid cheesecakes. Okay, good. I mean, it would have been epic if you were, if you were a cheesecake maker in real life, but I assumed you meant cheesecake liquids. So I'm reading the chat and I'm curious what y'all are talking about. You're talking about a cheesecake recipe. I gotta go back. I gotta go up, see what you guys are talking about. You want me to drop a link to my Patreon campaign in the description or in the I can put it in the chat. Hold on. Let me grab it real quick. That's another way that you can help support me is go on over to patreon.com using the description, using the link that I will provide in the chat right now. What cheesecake recipe are you guys talking about? Are you talking about... I can't figure out... Oh, okay. Chasing Clouds in Favor Reviews used funfetti one shot in a recipe he posted on... Okay, gotcha. All right. You want to make a root beer cheesecake? Seriously? I'm not opposed to making a root beer cheesecake. That's not really what I had in mind. Should we do a straw poll like we did last week? That was fun, right? Root beer cheesecake, or if it's just unanimous, you guys want to make root beer cheesecake, we could do that too. Sounds challenging, and I like a challenge. So I mixed up Flavorah Root Beer right here at 4%, as the folks over at EL are recommended for a single flavor. And got my PG, my VG, and my Nick in there. Just give this a shake for a minute here. Do I have any pumpkin flavors? I don't think I do, no. I might have, I'll check, just a second. I don't think I do. You know what? Google knows the answer to all questions. If we want something weird to do with root beer that's not a root beer float. I'm kind of intrigued by the idea of root beer cheesecake, though. Hey, Alan, what's up, man? How are you? Glad to see you in here. We got Flavorah Root Beer today. We are making something with Flavorah Root Beer. I've got it single flavored right here at 4%. Okay. What's something I can do with root beer that's not a root beer float? 11 regional twists on root beer float. Yeah, that's still a root beer float. "21 best root beer float ideas. 5 ice cream floats. How to make the best root beer floats." Okay, maybe I shouldn't have used the word float. What's something I can do with root beer? How about that? 10 recipes that roots for root beer. "10 recipes made with root beer that are extra sweet." 27 things you can do with root beer. Cooking with root beer. Oh yeah, let's do some root beer barbecued ribs, guys. 5% FA baby back ribs. That's not a real flavor. If that is a real flavor, I did not know, I promise. Chocolate root beer float poke cake. Okay. Root beer float ice cream. Okay. Root beer float cupcakes. Root beer barbecue sauce. Root beer float jello. Root beer popcorn. Interesting. Root beer cookies. Root beer meringue cookies. The boozy root beer float. Barbecue chicken sandwiches. That's it. Okay, okay. Yeah, nothing that was super crazy in there. 10 recipes made with root beer. Root beer nachos. Okay. Root beer float pie. Interesting. Okay. More root beer barbecue sauce. More root beer barbecue sauce. What's this? Pulled pork donut hole sliders. Oh, I see. Interesting. Root beer float cake. Root beer apple baked beans. Okay, okay, okay. Well, Google gave us some ideas. A few of them anyway. Are we still thinking root beer cheesecake? You ripped off my cheesecake ideas from that time. Okay, first of all, you didn't rip anything off. I put it on the internet, free use for anybody. Thank you for joining my Patreon campaign, Justin Crabtree. That is awesome. I truly appreciate your support. So are we still thinking root beer cheesecake? Is that what we're doing? So I'm tasting this right now. I've got Flavorah root beer mixed up in here at 4%, and it tastes like root beer, honestly. It is very, very creamy. I am getting a lot of that thick kind of like from the keg root beer flavor. Have you ever had like actual root beer? that's in a keg. It's not like carbonated from a fountain. It's very, very thick and frothy, creamy, heady. This definitely has that going on. It is quite effervescent, which is something that we might struggle with a little bit as far as the cheesecake goes. Hey, Breno. How are you, man? It's a very, very good root beer flavor, though. I mean, I think maybe if we add like a little bit of caramel or butterscotch to it, we could really kind of like thicken up that, make that root beer flavor almost like syrupy as opposed to being like a beverage. Add a cheesecake layer in there, we could probably just go to town with it. Root beer pudding cookies? I like that idea too. Deb says root beer cheesecake is a real thing. I Googled it. I believe you. You don't have to convince me that it's a real thing. It sounds absolutely delicious. It's just not what I had in mind when Flavorah root beer popped up. Congratulations on being six years smoke free. That is the most important thing to me. Oh yeah, Flavorah vanilla pudding. You know I love that flavor. Stir Crazy says a good creamy root beer float. Okay, we have to do a straw poll. There is derision in the chat. We have to do a straw poll. We just have to, right? One second. While I... What was that other one? Root beer float, root beer cheesecake. Somebody said something else. That's what I was thinking. Add butterscotch to it and make it not so drinkish. Make it more syrupy. Okay. Straw poll has been created. I will drop a link to it in the chat momentarily. All right, there's the straw poll. Go there, vote. There's 3 options. I'll give you 10 minutes. 10 minutes at 9:36. We're gonna make our recipe. Root beer nachos. Yes, that was one of the things that Google showed us. Root beer nachos. Justin, if you like cheesecakes, you might check out the recipe that we made last week on Tuesday Reviews Day. It's a pistachio cheesecake. You know, it's just kind of your basic cheesecake with a pistachio note. Is very, very good. Something really crazy happens when you mix graham cracker and pistachio together. It's amazing. Head over to the straw poll and vote. Root beer cheesecake is crushing the straw poll. It is ahead by a very large margin right now. Oh no, you can't vote? I'm sorry. Yes, root beer cheesecake is winning by quite a large margin. Becca, I will count your vote. Just drop in the chat what you want, and I will add it on to the total. The options are root beer float, root beer cupcake, and root beer cheesecake. So just drop what you want in the chat, and I will add it on. That is unfortunate that you can't click the link. What does Flavorah root beer taste like at 180 watts, chat? Should we find out? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Root beer 180 watts is the way to go. Oh well, I'm glad we talked you into it. Chasing Clouds and Flavor Reviews. Yeah, it's a series mech. It's something like 180 watts. Oh hey, don't even worry about that. You know, if you don't have that flavor, no worries. I was just saying that I have been using cheesecakes for quite a while myself. I prefer cheesecake profiles and RY4s, and that recipe in particular really just kind of knocked my socks off. So simple, you know, little pistachio, little cheesecake. It did really well. Was really quite impressed. I even went back and mixed up another 60 mil of it, and I killed that off last week too. I used that all week long. No, it did not taste caramelized at all. It just tasted very flavorful. Yeah, I also took advantage of the 4th of July sales. I picked up a few new flavors from BullCityFlavors.com. That is the place to go for all of your DIY e-liquid making flavor needs. BullCityFlavors.com. Their shipping is crazy fast. I think I placed my order around 9 a.m. and it was already shipped out at 11, so 2 hours. My package was already in the mail. All right, we got a few minutes left on the straw poll. We're going to wrap this up. Root beer float is coming in. We're getting close. Root beer cheesecake still ahead by a large margin. Link to the straw poll in the chat. I'm going to drop it in there again just in case you missed it the first time around. Go over to the straw poll and vote on the profile that you want to mix up right now. I don't have a dreamer. I have 2 Bonzas and a Monarch. can't remember what that other one is called. Got a couple of mech mods. They have been closed for the holiday. They should have reopened today, I thought. They were closed on the 4th. A tobacco flavor called Pillbox 38. Best I ever had. I'll check that out. Is it on all the flavors? ELR? I love tobaccos. We could do a root beer tobacco, guys. Why didn't you think of that? Root beer RY4. Come on. Why didn't I think of that? That's the real question. The real question is, why didn't I think of that? Which tobacco did you get, Deb? Flavorah has like 15 different tobaccos. Probably more than that, actually. They have a lot of tobaccos. 2 minutes left to vote, guys. 2 minutes. Yes, I saw your Summerberry RY4 mix recipe. I took a screenshot of it. I haven't actually mixed it up yet, but I have a ton of liquids that I'm trying to get through right now that I have made. I am going to mix that recipe. I promise, Step. Took a screenshot of it. Oh, it was a commercial liquid. Okay. I'm in the United States of America. One minute left to vote. All right, so let's see who won. It is root beer cheesecake, chat. So let's head over to ATF and make a root beer cheesecake recipe. All right, so we know that we are using Flavorah root beer. The reason that I use ATF for this is because ATF has my entire flavor stash, and ELR only has the DIY Easy flavor stash. So as far as cheesecake flavors go, there are quite a few. I have thoughts. So my first thought is Capella New York cheesecake is just that, you know, that thick New York style cheesecake. It doesn't have much crust going on. It is also kind of funky, especially when you push it up high. There is also the king of cheesecakes, which is INW Yes cheesecake. I don't think that it's particularly close. That flavor is very, very good. It has a nice balance of creamy cheesecake and graham cracker crust. It is a little bit oily though. I'm not sure how well the oily part of the Yes cheesecake will go with the root beer. I think that it is something that is definitely worth trying though, because INW Yes cheesecake is very, very creamy and has an almost, thanks Deb, coconut note that I think will blend in really, really nicely with the creamy notes that are in Flavorah root beer. So I am going to reach for Yes cheesecake by INW. And I'm also going to supplement that with a little bit of New York cheesecake from Capella. Just to kind of thicken that up, we are going to add 1% of New York cheesecake. So our single flavor test was 4% of Flavorah root beer. We got a very, strong root beer note with a really nice creamy note. I'm thinking that 4% might be just a touch too high for the purposes of this, because I don't want to make it into like a cheesecake root beer float. I want it to be a cheesecake with root beer, a root beer cheesecake. So I'm gonna start at 2, and we can always add more if I think that more root beer is needed. And I am gonna start Yes We Cheesecake at 3. And I am just going to mix these flavors by themselves and try it out with a little bit of sweetener, and we will see how it goes. We can add more if I think that it needs some additional flavor. We cannot take things out though. So I've got 1% of CAP New York Cheesecake in there. And let me just grab my Yes We Cheesecake. Yes We Cheesecake, and I'm gonna put that in there at 3 with 2% of Flavorah root beer. Get a kind of baseline here for what this cheesecake is trying to be. Sweetener. You know, I always think about what sweetener I want to use really early on in my recipe. And without even knowing whether or not this profile is going to need sweetener, I'm just going to go ahead and add 1% of Flavor West sweetener. I have mixed up enough cheesecakes, and I know what I prefer, and that is 1% of Flavor West sweetener in my cheesecakes, particularly when I am using a large amount of INW Yes We Cheesecake. So there is the recipe as it stands right now. You can see it on your screen. I've got it in my bottle. Just going to give it a real quick shake. Is there a actual sassafras concentrate? I know that I've tried to look for it before. Like if I wanted to build my own cheesecake. Sorry. Build my own root beer. Is there a sassafras flavor that I could use to build my own root beer flavor? I don't think that there is. Surprisingly, I am not getting a ton of root beer out of that. I thought for sure that that root beer would be right up front. It's there, but it is not. It is not particularly strong. I think we definitely need to add a lot more root beer to be able to taste it. Like I want to taste it. I want the Flavorah root beer to really kind of be the star of the show. When you vape it, I want you to know that you are vaping a root beer cheesecake. Oh no. Surprisingly, 2%, not enough. The coconut note in the INW Yes We Cheesecake is really kind of blending into that root beer. I added 2% more of the root beer. I went up to 4. I am afraid, I was also concerned that at 4%, the bubbles that are in the root beer would be really distracting. It wouldn't necessarily be a root beer flavored cheesecake. It would be a cheesecake root beer float. There we go. Okay. That might have been a little bit too much. Maybe 3% would have been better. 4% may have overdone it a little bit. I would expect that root beer to fade a little bit as time goes on. Yeah, I have everything kind of in front of me, so I can just kind of grab it and go. You want to put pineapple in the root beer? Hey man, I think that sounds really good. You know, it's the difference between root beer and the difference between root beer and cream soda is that sassafras. So I don't think you can really avoid that if you use Flavorah root beer. There are a couple of really good cream soda flavors though. If you want to make a pineapple cream soda, I think Acid Pony has a really good like pineapple vanilla cream soda recipe. I'm not sure what it's called, but it's I know it's got Vape Train creaming soda in it. I'm not sure what the pineapple he used for it was, but Acid Pony has got that cream soda thing down pat. He has a really good guava cream soda recipe that I've mixed several times. It's good stuff. I don't think Flavorah root beer would work for you though. It's got that sassafras note. I mean, it might taste good with pineapple, but I don't think it would be a pineapple cream soda. It would be a pineapple root beer. Okay, so yeah, 4% of the Flavorah root beer was a little bit too much. So I think we need to leave that at 3. The cheesecake is coming through, not getting much crust. It is a very thick bodied cream note. Yeah, I think adding a little bit more Yes Sweet Cheesecake would definitely mute that root beer a little bit, but I think it would probably be better to just leave that root beer at 3% as opposed to pushing it up to 4. Leave the Yes Sweet Cheesecake at 3 and put the root beer at 3 with 1% of New York cheesecake. You know what I think this needs though? I'm still getting bubbles. I think this needs some butterscotch to really kind of almost kind of blend that root beer into a butterscotch. So what do we think? Butterscotch Ripple? I mean, Butterscotch Ripple is a really good butterscotch. It's very creamy. I think it'll work really well with the. I think it'll work really well with the root beer. It's got a nice cream note. It's butterscotchy. I also anticipated that root beer to fade a little bit over time as opposed to getting stronger. I would fully anticipate the root beer to fade. Let me just grab my butterscotch Ripple real quick. What do you think? I think 2% flavor was butterscotch Ripple in here. Yeah, something to emulsify it. That's a good way of putting that. Something to emulsify it a little bit. I'm thinking 2% butterscotch Ripple. We could always add more, right? Let's add 2% butterscotch Ripple. Well, Becca, the good news is that YouTube is forever. So if you ever do pick up this flavor, you will be able to mix up this recipe. And you know, tune in to Tuesday Reviews Day every week, Tuesday at 9 p.m. Central Time. We do a random flavor every week, so you know it's only a matter of time before we hit one of the flavors that's in your flavor stash, and we can mix up a recipe using a flavor that you already own. So got 2% of Butterscotch Ripple in there. Haven't tasted it yet. I'm seething with anticipation. Butterscotch Ripple, Flavor West, 2%. Just shake it for just a little bit longer. The more that I bait that, the more that I'm really digging the way that the Yes We Cheesecake blends into the root beer. That's a really solid flavor pairing. Okay, interesting. That is wild what just that touch of Butterscotch Ripple did to that. It seriously took it from being like a root beer, a creamy root beer cheesecake maybe, to being like a root beer syrup, or like a root beer drizzle over the top of it. So what do you think about crust? I think that this recipe needs a little bit of crust. Maybe something a little bit kind of exotic. Needs a little bit of an exotic touch in the crust department. Just a touch. What do you think? What do you think about adding an exotic crust? Something that might kind of spice that root beer up just a little bit. Play with the Butterscotch Ripple. You know what I'm thinking about? I am thinking about this. TPA Cinnamon Danish Swirl. I'm thinking about this. I'm going to start at 1. Just to kind of add that little bit of cinnamon Danish swirl it's like a flaky pastry, buttery. It's got a little bit of cinnamon in it. It's very, very good, and I think that it will be a very neat and tidy crust for this recipe. I think that the Capella Cinnamon Danish Swirl is a little bit too yeasty. The TPA Cinnamon Danish Swirl is very dry. It's a dry, buttery pastry with cinnamon. I'm thinking 1 cinnamon Danish swirl at 1 in here. We might need to add a little bit more, just a touch, you know, that little bit of a spice note, that little bit of a bakery note, just for the crust. %. And I did put 1% of Flavor West sweetener in there already, so the sweetener is covered. Of course, I've got 1 milligram of my friend Nick in here. Never leave home without him. That is what keeps me off of cigarettes. Flavored nicotine products, flavored vapor products with nicotine changed my life and the life of millions of Americans. Chasing Clouds and Flavor Reviews. I just tasted it on my finger. Why did I do that? Chasing Clouds and Flavor Reviews. Chasing Clouds and Flavor Reviews knows that that ruins your taste buds to the profile. And I do it every time anyway. Don't know what I was thinking. Cinnamon Danish Swirl is the flavor that I used, not Cinnamon Danish. I don't know if that's different. Stop the presses. That was it. Cinnamon Danish Swirl. Achievement unlocked. You have a delicious root beer cheesecake. Right there, folks. There it is. I don't want to let this one steep, I think probably for at least 3 days. Give it a week or two. It will be fantabulous. Got a little bit of cinnamon in there. Just really kind of did it. Strawberry pineapple cake sounds delicious. I like all of these things. You bet, yellow cake. What did you say last week, Chasing Clouds and Flavor Reviews? Yellow cake or die? I agree. Flavor West yellow cake is really, really good. All right, so thanks for joining me for Tuesday Reviews Day. We had a lot of fun. We got, Fate gave us Flavorah Root Beer, and Fate gave me the chat and brought me the idea of root beer cheesecake, which I gotta say is not something that I would come out of the gate with if you handed me Flavorah Root Beer, but I'm really, really pleased with the way that this recipe turned out. So Flavorah Root Beer, being the star of the show in here, is just a really, really solid, creamy root beer flavor. It's got lots of bubbles. At 4%, we single flavor tested it. I think that it's a fantastic root beer flavor. So if you're in the market, if you are needing to scratch the itch of root beer in the summertime, I think that Flavorah Root Beer is probably the flavor for you. I think that about does it for this episode of Tuesday Reviews Day. Thanks everybody so much for joining me, and I will definitely see you guys in the next one.